I'm Bonnie. Welcome to Tarot with Bonnie and Peter, where we take the mystery out of the tarot and help you bring this ancient practice into everyday life. In this podcast, we'll talk about life, tarot, and everything in between. So grab your tarot deck, get comfortable, and start your journey to tarot with Bonnie and Peter. Welcome to Tarot with Bonnie and Peter. I'm Bonnie, and on today's episode, we're going to talk a little bit about Halloween. We're going to talk about maybe, well, Peter and I love Halloween to start with, we probably have maybe some different reasons of why we love Halloween so much, but we thought we would just let the idea of Halloween take us on a journey through this episode and actually see what comes up for us. So we don't have a structure. We are, it's okay. This is funny. I'm getting it now. So we're really going to talk about some of the things that maybe frighten us, and I'll talk about my take on why I love Halloween so much, but this is kind of funny because we don't really have a structure, and that could be really frightening, but we're going with it anyways.
I was just thinking of that. I'm like,
Yeah, a beautiful segue into what it is that we're going to talk about today. So hi, Peter. How are you?
I'm good. I'm sore. I think I mentioned in our last episode that my work around the lunation was about culling and changing, and so my office has been completely redone. Not to mention brands, but I think I can speak Swedish now, having built furniture, some 3 different pieces of modular furniture. But I'm much happier with the outcome. But when they say, "Oh yeah, easy to build," yeah, no. But no, I'm good. I'm good. So,
but it's a good sense of accomplishment. You did something, you finished it. Now you're in sort of not a new space, but it's, sort of new things that are in there for you. So,
and we've inspired each other. So now I think my wife is now doing the same kind of thing. And now she's looking at her office going, I wonder what I'm going to do. So, and it's busy work month. With healing done now, it's back to all the work and everything else. What about you? How are you with this Halloween season staring us? It's actually just a couple of weeks away now, right?
I know. And I just put up my Halloween decorations this weekend. I'm very late. Normally, my birthday is the end of September, and I've been known to put up Halloween decorations on my birthday, which literally is like the day before September ends. So, but this year I'm far behind, and I'm still not done. So, but I'm getting in the Halloween spirit. We've visited some Halloween inspired stores that have all of those like animatronic things.
Right.
I love it. It like fuels me. Like it's so bizarre. And I guess we can start talking about why we love Halloween so much. But we were in one of these stores, and my youngest daughter, Chloe, she said, Mommy, like, why do you love Halloween so much? Like, you don't watch scary movies. You don't like violence on TV, right? Like it's all of the things that are opposite about Halloween is what I am. But there's something about the season of Halloween that makes me so happy and excited. And it's true. I don't partake in the watching of the scary movies, like all of that stuff. But I think there's something about this season that it's like, it just sort of increases your capacity to face your fears in a container that's really safe. So I think because the season of Halloween, like all these like gory and bloody things come out, and I'm fascinated by that. Like I love looking at like dolls that look possessed, or like ghosts or witches. I'm fascinated. Even my kids are like, why do you love witches? I'm like, well, I probably was one in another life. I don't know. But not in the way that, we look at them through Halloween. But it's just like, it gives you this safe space to explore some of these things, knowing that it's not real in that moment. Like if I'm looking at something that's bloody and gory, I know that's not real, but I can look at it from this like with presence and as a witness, as opposed to being like, oh my God, like that's freaking me out. And then even if I know I'm going to be scared, like we go into one of these stores and they have all these animatronics and you put your foot down and you know the thing is going to scare you. I'm okay with that. I don't want to go into a haunted house because I don't think I'd be able to handle the fear in there, but it's just like giving you the space to be like, oh, like this is so different from everyday life. And it just allows you to enter this world that's just like different and just being curious with that. So I think that's my fascination. I've always loved Halloween, even since I was a little kid. So it's like something that's in me. And I think you're either like a super diehard Halloween person or you're like, nah, it's okay. I think there's two camps in that arena. What about you, Peter? Why? I know you love Halloween. Do you want to share with us why you love it, or what, like what's that feeling for you?
I don't know. It's probably changed over time because I loved it as a kid as well. I loved, the dressing up and tried, the scarier the better. I mean, none of the animatronics and all of that kind of stuff. People didn't really decorate their houses for Halloween, though, when I was a kid. That's something that's relatively new. But, everybody in the neighborhood, was always trick-or-treating and all the kids were out. So I really enjoyed that. But, I mean, I like, my like of kind of things scary goes beyond that. Like you talk about not liking horror movies. And for the longest time, that would have been my favorite genre by far. Less now, I think as I age, I mellow. But horror is still my preferred genre of reading. I'll gravitate to a horror novel. Now, the challenge is I find, there's not that many great horror authors out there, at least not, that are kind of modern. So like I like the scary stuff. I just noticed that somebody's got the all of the Nightmare on Elm Street series, available for sale, and I'm just going, for stream, like to be able to buy them and have them in your library. Like I like that. I like that kind of cheesy, probably very similar to you. I like Eddie being scared in a safe way. I don't like being kind of unnerved or scared in a way where, you're where fear is real. So I it's controlled. You talk about what about, like, I know when I was a kid, if you went to a carnival or what, you went to a fair, you went like I grew up in Toronto and then lived close to it. CNE would have always been a thing. And, there were always haunted houses, and it would be the very, very first thing that I would go to, Lundy's Lane, Niagara Falls. It would be, going to the House of Frankenstein, the House of Dracula, Madame Tussauds is a little cheesy, but, that's where I would go. I would go there. That was, my.
When I was younger, I can't say that I wasn't as scared, but I had much more. I guess I was more brave. Like, I would go into haunted houses, but like I remember going into a haunted house with my dad. So I was really, really little. And I think I just held his hand and kept my eyes closed the whole time and knew that he would be there to protect me. I can't say that I ever enjoyed being in a haunted house because I just have those visions of, the person coming out with a chainsaw, like to scare you. Yeah. I hated that. And I would scream. Like, I'm a screamer and people don't want to hear me screaming in that capacity. So I never really enjoyed a haunted house, but I used to watch all the scary movies, right? Like Friday, like I was raised on that, right? Yeah. Like Friday the 13th, The Nightmare on Elm Street. Like, there you go. I used to watch that, but I think, and now that I'm older, and I probably used to watch it just because other people were watching it and I probably had no choice, right? We grew up in homes where there was one TV in the house. And if, you couldn't go somewhere else and watch another show. So I think I just watched by association because of what other people, like my family, would have been watching at the time. But now I realize that when I watch things like that, I almost feel like what's happening, and it's too much for my nervous system. So whether that's because I'm an empath or I'm like super sensitive, it's like I can feel it and it doesn't feel good in my body, and it's almost like I'm being traumatized. So now if my family wants to watch something like that, I'm like, peace out. I'll see you later. Like, I don't need to be there. I don't need to prove anything. So the horror movie thing is still, it's hard for me. So we'll see if that ever changes. But I watched them when I was young, but I literally would close my eyes. I remember watching The Incredible Hulk. I was a little kid when that was on TV. And when he would turn into the Hulk, I would get so scared.
Oh my, because that's not really scary. It's
no, but this is like little Bonnie. And I would hide behind, like our couch was on an angle. So the TV was at the end, like in the room, and the couches were on either side. So I'd go and I'd hide behind the armrest of the couch so that I wouldn't see him like transforming into the Hulk. Like, that's how much of a chicken I was.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So
yeah. And I like because I like Halloween, but I think I like the season itself, and that's where I've grown into the Halloween Samhain kind of blend. And I think I talked about this before on our Halloween episode. So for those of you listening now, Bonnie and I have 2 tarot-themed Halloween episodes that we recorded last Halloween, where we talk about our Halloween decks. We're actually in costume, or and I think I mentioned this before. Like, to me, that night of October 31st, that November 1st, I'm not consistent in tarot practice throughout the year. I've had ebbs and flows. I'm not sure I have ever missed doing some kind of tarot work, sometimes a year ahead, or some kind of reflective work on October 31st, November 1st. I'd be hard-pressed to think about a date in the last 25, maybe even 30 years that I would have missed that opportunity. So it's an important kind of connection time for me. We talked about this before. It marks that it really, for us living in the Northern Hemisphere, it really does mark that, things are dying. They're kind of letting go. They're ending. And I think it's a really good time. And that's probably, why death and, all the horror that kind of goes with Halloween is that time of, leaves falling off the trees, the plants are dying, the sun is dying. Yeah, totally. Right. Like that concept of endings that, but really, it's death, right? It's the card of Scorpio. It's, it's the death card. It's things that they'll be reborn at some point, but they're going through that ending phase. So I think there's power to it. And, maybe that's what draws me, and my birthday sits pretty much, right in the middle of that season.
It's funny, when I was younger, like, I didn't even have a boyfriend at this point, but I was like, oh, I want to get married on Halloween so I can wear a black dress. It's so morbid. I wanted to wear a black dress instead of a white dress. I wanted to
marry a vampire. It was like, okay.
Yeah, maybe. But then, so my youngest daughter, so I was pregnant around this time, and her due date was sort of mid to late November. And in my head, I'm like, oh, if she was just born a few weeks early, she could be Halloween baby. Not that I wanted her to be born early for, any type of complication or anything, but it was just like, I don't know, like, I wanted to have a baby on Halloween. I wanted to get married on Halloween. It's this, I don't know, there's something magical about it that I can't really explain. So she was not born on Halloween, and she was born when she was supposed to be.
No,
we'll honor that. But she's still a Scorpio, so I still had a Scorpio baby. But.
Well done. Although you get Sasha Graham, right? Halloween baby.
Yes, Halloween baby.
I know. She talked about that when we had her on a while back. So okay, so how are we going to explore this? Because I
thought it might be kind of fun. So we're talking about maybe things that might be scary. So maybe we could pull a tarot card about like a fear, right? Like, what are we what are we ready to acknowledge, like something that maybe might frighten us? Okay. So I haven't gotten past that. I don't know. What do you think? What do you want to do, Pierre?
Great. Look, I love that question, because I think the idea of fear really does sit inside, of Halloween or even Samhain, because, the idea of things having to end so that something else can begin, things ending is hard. Like it is hard. We find that difficult. I remember working, when I was working in educational leadership, and staff would be coming with these new initiatives, and they, want to start, this is going to be great. It's going to be great. And I'd be like, okay, great. But, we got 100 things that we're doing right now. So you got to tell me what's going to end. If we're going to add something, what do we need to take away? And, it's the same thing when we try and add things to our routine, we add things to our lives. We only have so much capacity. So we have to end things to be able to add things. And that is hard. That's hard for us to do. So, I think it's a great question. I'd love to pull a card and ask about what is that fear? What am I afraid of? What am I afraid, what needs to end that I'm afraid to let go? Those kinds of questions are fantastic for this time. So,
and if you think about it, our fears keep us safe, right? So it's like, if we want to step into something else and there's something that's holding us back, it's like that fear is what's familiar to us, even though it might not be serving us. It's like, well, even though I'm afraid, I'm familiar with that feeling. So I'm going to sit in that feeling as opposed to letting that go so that I can step into the unknown, right? And not know. So that's, I think our biggest fear is the unknown, right? So sitting with some of those things, even though they're uncomfortable, they're familiar. So we stay there. So, okay, let's see what happens.
I'm clumsily shuffling. I've got the Tarot of the Abyss.
Okay. I love that deck.
Yeah. I think it's Anturian. Oh.
And I'm using, it's not a Halloween deck, but it's a very gory. It's the Tarot of Vampires by Ian Daniels. I've had this deck for a long time, like well over a year. And then I just lately, I was like, oh, I'm gonna reach for that deck again. It's a good deck for showing me.
Showing you fears. Well,
fear.
I was just thinking, and my Halloween deck collection has gotten bigger. Of course, I went and grabbed Tarot of the Abyss because it's black and white. I've got a couple of others. I've got the black tarot, but I realized I actually have the horror terror.
Yes, I was thinking of that. You're like, oh my God, I love horror movies. I'm like, of course you do, because you have the horror tarot.
I know. I should.
I still have to get that deck. I haven't gotten any Halloween decks this year, actually, which is quite shocking. But
all right,
okay. Did you pull a card?
I did. Yes, I did.
Okay, I'm gonna pull one too. So this is like, what is our biggest fear, or what are we?
Yeah, well, I was thinking of fear and let go. I know. I thought the same thing. What did you draw, Bonnie?
Oh my God. Okay. So you want me to go first?
Sure.
Oh no, I'm thinking this is a different card. Skull. Okay, so this is the 7 of Skulls.
All right.
Which I believe skulls in this deck is Pentacles. Yeah. I was thinking it was swords, but it's not. I think it's Pentacles. So this is now changing what I thought initially. Okay, so what am I afraid of? My fear. So when I think of the 7 of Pentacles, it's this idea of like patience and waiting and knowing that you've put the work in, and it's just kind of like contemplating now and waiting for what you've done, like the things that you've planted, the things that you've been working on, is sort of giving it time. And I think I'm afraid. It's like, maybe as I'm getting older in life, it's like, well, how much more time, right? It's like we get impatient. And we also live in this world of instant gratification.
Correct.
If we want anything, we just click a button and it shows up on our doorstep, right? So I think this idea of patience, but why am I afraid of patience? It could be that I'm afraid that what I've planted is never actually going to come to fruition, right? It's like, I've done all of this work. I've planted all of these seeds. I've been tending this garden, and what if what I've done is still not gonna work? So I think that's really the fear that's setting in, is like having wasted all this time doing something, and what if it never actually happens? Actually, that makes a lot of sense for me. I'm feeling that in my body. So,
Yeah.
yeah. My fear of like all this hard work isn't going to pay off.
Yeah. It sometimes that seven of skulls is the fear of being on the universe's clock as well. It's the fact that, you do the work and and again, I always think it's a seven, right? So a lot of the work has been done, but it's not finished yet. And sometimes that harvest, or, the kind of the fruit of labor doesn't happen. You can't stand there and go, okay, damn it, grow. It has to grow in its own time. So it's like you're able to control the work. Sometimes you can't control the outcome. And that also could be fearful, because it is in many ways, out of, you drew the card, out of your control. So that.
And I think too, fear of the path that I'm on. What if I chose the wrong path? What if I keep choosing the wrong path, right? I'm running out of time to figure out what it is I'm supposed to be doing. So I think letting go of that fear that it has to be a certain way, or what if it doesn't work out, right? Because when we start fearing that thing, then that's just what's going to keep showing up in our life, right? As opposed to the focusing on the desire, focusing on the outcome. And I think that's really, it's in alignment with where I am right now, especially also like in partnership with my husband, where we both are in this season of life, and like, when is that thing going to happen? Or did we make the right decision? So letting go of that fear and just allowing what is to be. And knowing that we have done the work, and it's just it's divine timing. We can't, sometimes there's things that we just can't rush, and there's lessons we still need to learn or figure out, and having the trust to be able to do that. So thanks, Peter.
And being able to sit in, what essentially is that divine quiet, right? Like when you were talking about, I could think, same, to kind of use that farmer analogy, when you're like, oh, am I on the right path to do the right thing? I would imagine that before things are starting to grow, or before there's, proper harvest, the farmer's saying the same thing. Did I use the right seed? Did I have the right mix? Did I put enough food and manure and water? Is my timing right? Will I, be able to get my things to market on time? Or is, my neighbor going to be able to, sell everything in, in a scarcity market and make all of those kinds of questions would come up, and you can't turn a crank and make the corn grow faster, and you can't, you know what I mean? So like sometimes even, as you said, with, in partnerships where, you do certain things, and at, some stages of life where all the other moving parts have very little to do with you. They other people's decisions, or, there's decisions that are completely outside of your own, out of your control.
There's an analogy too that I'm thinking about, and I'm probably wrong, but I don't know why I'm thinking about this. I think in the Tarot of the Abyss deck, if I remember correctly, the Seven of Pentacles is her baking bread, I think.
Well,
and it's
if only I had that.
If only I know, I could turn around.
And I'll take a look.
But it's like, you can't rush
that's
that.
Exactly what it is.
Is it? Yeah. So it's like when you put,
showing it right on this to you, right on the screen. She's making.
Yes, I remember it correctly. Okay. Yeah. It's like you can't rush that. Once it's done and it's in the oven, you're just like, is it going to bake? Is it going to bake? Right. And it doesn't matter how much you steer at it. Well, it just needs to take its time and bake. And the only way you're going to, no, go ahead.
No, please go. No,
I was just going to say, the only way you're going to know if it turns out is when it's done baking. So.
Yeah. And there's no way to speed up the process. Right. If you increase the heat in the oven, you ruin the bread.
You're going to burn. Yeah.
So, you get this, blackened, charred piece of brick that's, not even cooked on the inside. Like, so you kind of have to, sometimes you have to do the work, and then you have to let the process sort of carry you forward, at least to a certain point. Right.
Yep. Okay, so thank you for helping me with my fear.
Thank you. Good. Hopefully you're going to do the same thing, because I looked at this when I pulled this and I just laughed.
Oh, no.
I drew Major Arcana card number 5 called the Wise One here. Talk about fear.
Fear. Oh, there's so much in that, right? Like traditionally the Hierophant, right? Or correct. The Hierophant or the Hierophant. Yep. I can't say that word.
Yeah. And, you know, and I look at that and, you know, for me right away, I think of, you know, almost the one is the fear of transition where, although, you know, I wouldn't be so bold as to state, you know, that my role was one of the Hierophant, I have left a profession where, you know, I would have done well, right? Like my advice would have been sought after. You know, and again, I don't mean to sound arrogant, but I'm staring at my Canada's Outstanding Principal Award. It's sitting on the wall in front of me. Like I did really well in a job that I have left, but still identify myself as, and yet you know, I'm afraid to let that go. I'm like,
interesting.
I'm like, that's in a lot of ways. I even now still sometimes, you know, I've changed that. So I am starting now to actually, you know, introduce myself as tarot practitioner, which, you know, is interesting because I've actually done this in a professional capacity longer than I had my career. I actually started my business in 2003, which was just before I became a school leader, and I'm still operating it, even though I've left. You know, I left school leadership in 2021, but I still, you know, I define myself as really as a school and system level principal. So I would be saying, oh, I'm a retired principal, and it's like, well, no, I'm not. Or that I'd used the word recently, and I'm like, well, what does recent look like? It's, you know, 4+ years. That's not recent anymore. Like, so, you know, and I don't mean to, but this card, when I looked at it, I was like, there's that concept of, you know, of leading in systems, leading in something that's conventional and orthodox. And, you know, I spent a lot of time pushing against that, but still I worked inside a system that was a system. And you know, there's a fear of letting that go. I also think about the idea of entering into different sort of, you know, because this card, when I look at it, this is somebody who's looking to guide other people, right? So, you know, you've got sort of that, you know, shaman style person who is sitting there and has captured the attention of 2 other people around a fire. And there's also that fear of stepping into that sort of expert space. And, you know, we were talking beforehand, I'm actually literally doing a talk in the Experts in the Library series. And, you know, I was like, oh, well, you know, how many people are going to register for this, right? Listen to me learn about tarot. I asked 3 or 4. So far as of the recording, it'll be done, that we had 22 people registered, and they anticipate that they're going to get more. And I'm like, and I live in a small town that, you know, doesn't have a ton, although it does have a fair amount of tarot connections. And there's that fear, I think, of stepping into expert space, whether it's, you know, I've heard it referred as many, many things, you know, whether it's whether it's a lack of self-confidence, you know, whatever it happens to be, that whether it's that why me, that fear of stepping into, you know, the space of a guide. And I don't know, that's what I'm getting out of that card. That's what I'm getting out of that card. No, you know, despite the fact that, you know, that although again, I think guides always have lots to learn, they also have lots to share. So I don't know. There you go. What do you think, Bonnie? Because I value your opinion.
I think your interpretation of that is bang on. I think, you know, when I see that card, I connect very deeply with that card because I'm a 5 in numerology, and that's sort of the link, you know, that's my card. And it really is. It's about our belief system. So there's like a few different things that are happening in that card. It's like your belief system. what do you believe, and questioning, like, where do those beliefs come from? Do we just believe things because that's how we were raised, or do we have the capacity now to be like questioning, like, oh, I don't know if I agree with that, or maybe I do agree with that, and now that I'm older, that all makes sense to me. Or being able to go out and find that knowledge, which I think you're really great at, Peter. I mean, you do this in the tarot capacity, you do that with astrology, you've done that with education. It's like, you're the type of person that goes out and learns these concepts and understands them and brings them back, and then helps to convey that information to people in a way that is really understandable. So some of these concepts that we talk about can be really complicated, especially when you throw like all the different symbolism and everything in the tarot, but then bringing it back and sort of explaining that in a way that's much more accessible to people. So I think your fear is maybe believing in the fact that you have that ability to be that leader, you have that ability to help people understand that knowledge, and to know that you are also your own best resource, right? Like sometimes we're always searching for something on the outside, but I think this is I think Chris-Anne says this in the Light Seers Tarot with this card. It's like you are your own guru, right? Like we're always searching for answers on the outside, and the Hierophant or the Hierophant is like, you also have that capacity to have access to that knowledge, right? It's like not the Empress, the High Priestess is like, that's within. And now this card is like that expression, like on the external. So, stepping into that role, Peter, and know that people need teachers. And even though you're the teacher, you're still a student, right? We never stop being students as well. So.
Yeah, the idea of lifelong learning. It's funny you mentioned the teacher, because in the Gaian Tarot, that's what this card is, right? It's called the teacher. So yeah, and maybe the fear is letting go of a past identity, but also recognizing that, that teacher role or that teacher persona is one that exists inside my DNA. Probably it's going to be a space that I'm very comfortable in. I just have to let go of what it used to look like and embrace what it's going to look like moving forward. So.
Yeah, just the energy is changing. You're still in a teaching capacity. Yeah. It's just, what are you teaching now? It could be different. And I think that too, when I was going to university, I took Spanish studies as my major, and I wanted to be a Spanish professor. That was my goal in life. And I lived in Spain for a year. I went to university there, and then reality set in as I was graduating fourth year university, going, oh, how am I actually going to become a Spanish professor? I have to do my master's and continue my education. And I was like, financially, that's not going to happen. So I sort of let all those dreams go of wanting to be a teacher, right? That was what I initially wanted to do. And then stepping into a different career because I needed to make money. So, and then here I am now, a teacher of meditation, of breath work, right? So it just changes. Right? Like what we're teaching can change. We can still be teachers, but it just... Right. And then when I was in the role of not being the teacher, it didn't like I wasn't in alignment with what I was meant to do. So, it's amazing the things that we realize about ourselves as we get older.
Yeah. And it's amazing.
And we look back.
Yeah. How the tarot speaks to us as well. Because, I think we pulled those cards. Like we could have pulled any card, but we happen to pull two cards and we're like, I see what you're doing there. I see what you're doing there, tarot.
So smart, the tarot.
I'm telling you. All right. Should we try like a general? We haven't done a general card draw for a while. Should we?
Yeah.
We try one from a.
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's do it. All right. I'm gonna give this good old. I still have to do now. Look, now that my workspace is done,
shuffling
music. Absolutely.
Yeah,
that's what was one of the reasons why I had kind of redid my office. Was it was conducive for two of the three things that I do, but I had to tear things down and put things back up again to really focus on music. So I've got it set up with a desk that moves up and down, and I have one of my keyboards actually tucked underneath the desk. So when I need it, I just pull the stand straight out, and I can do some writing and whatnot. It's pretty easy. So.
Awesome. Okay, so we're just pulling a card, and then we're just going to give our insights about the card,
like the olden days,
like the olden days, like the good old days.
I just want to make sure that the deck is still upright. Okay, here we go.
Okay.
Anna.
Okay.
All right. So I drew the Page of Wands. I always love those kind of, and that, the innocence and the naivety that a page kind of brings, and interesting that we were just talking about the card of the teacher, and the page is often the card of the student. And it's like, well, what are you going to learn? And then I think, well, what are you going to learn? Look at the suit of the card. So in this particular case, you're the Page of Wands. So you're going to be learning about, your fire. What is it that lights you up inside? What is it that inspires you? What is it that gives you spark? And I always think the things about pages is they don't move that quickly. So, they tend to be, although the Page of Wands and the Page of Swords probably move a little bit quicker, but pages are still kind of earthbound. So they're not, they're not so quickly moving. And they're, when I think of the Page of Wands, I actually often think of a child of wonder. It's like, they're asking all of those questions. They really want to know. They really want to know things. So, I'm like, Page of Wands is an invitation to take on that student role, but to really ask those questions. Okay. So, in the words of, Jim Morrison, what is it that lights my fire, right? What is it that kind of gets me going?
I love that.
Yeah. I don't know. And yeah, you kind of like, when you look at this too, like this is it, like she's literally going to light a fire. I didn't realize that when I said, but she has kindling in her hand, and it looks like there's some sticks. Now this is again, Terror of the Abyss. Looks like there's the start of a fire that's sort of at her feet. And she looks like she's getting ready, to start a fire. So that's what I think when I think of, that's what I'm thinking of now anyways, when I think of this particular Page of Wands, which is interesting because there's no color in that at all. There's no reds, there's no oranges, but it really does speak of that spark, that inspiration, even that piece of creativity, right? Because we're talking about fire as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
What do you think? What do you have to say about the Page of Wands?
I love the page. Well, I mean, I love all tarot cards. I say that about every card. I'm like, I love that card. I love that card. The Page of Wands energy is so fun. When I think of the Page of Wands, I think of that like that kid that's like ready for adventure. They're ready to do anything, and they're not afraid. It's like, oh, you want to go jump off that cliff and like into the lake or whatever. Yeah, let's just go do it. Like they just go after what it is that they want, and they're not afraid. And I admire that because I tend to be the scary cat.
I was going to say, funny, an episode where we talked about fear, we draw a card where, you define it as somebody who's not afraid.
Yeah. And I think that energy of the Page of Wands is like always up for adventure, right? And it's like, yeah, let's go do it. Like they just want to do something and they go ahead and do it. So I love that. I need more of that energy in my life. And I think too, when I see pages, right, I think of that youthful fun energy, and it always reminds me like, Bonnie, have more fun, right? And even like if you're doing something you love, how can you bring more fun and more joy and more, not innocence, but just like kids, they don't care what other people think of them. No. They just do what they want to do, right? They just do it for the sake of having fun. So I love the Page of Wands energy. I think it's full of excitement and joy and doing what you love. And also I see pages as like messages, right? Like what's the message in that for you, Peter? Like what something new, right? That you're going to start doing. It's that like creative spark. So yeah, thinking about what might be coming into your life, something that's new, something that you can start with like this really joyful, fun attitude. So
yeah, well, I think I know what that is. So that's great.
Oh, good. I love that.
Okay.
What
card did you draw?
Okay, so I'm still using Tarot of Vampires. I drew funny. You drew the Page of Wands. I drew the 10 of Scepters, which is the 10 of Wands.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So it's funny that you drew like the beginning of the court card energy for Wands, and I drew the end of the Wands energy in the suit. So often when we see the 10 of Wands, in this case, the 10 of Scepters, it's like carrying a really heavy load. Right? And sometimes too much of a good thing is too much, right? If we're in this energy of Wands and things that we love and things that we're really passionate about, I think sometimes we can still carry a really heavy load. So when this card comes up for me, it's like, what am I carrying that isn't mine to carry, right? Like almost giving it back and being like, you know what? I have too much responsibility. Like I'm not in charge of all your stuff. It could even be trying to be in charge of everybody else's joy, or like all the things that everybody else wants to do, and me having to figure out how that's all going to happen. So really taking inventory and being like, what am I saying yes to? And what should I be saying no to, right? And it's also a way of like doing things easier. I forget which tarot deck it is, but somebody's like carrying all this stuff and it's like falling. It's like, why do we have to carry everything all at once? We can make a few different trips, right? I think we try to jam a lot of stuff into whatever it is that we're doing. It could be a situation, it could be our calendars. And it's like, well, this isn't serving me. So really being intentional about what it is that I actually want to do, and letting go of the stuff that I'm doing, and like, why am I actually doing that thing? So, this is an opportunity to really look at all that you're carrying energetically, physically, mentally, emotionally, and really questioning, like, why am I doing all this stuff? And just picking, right? Like we could piggyback off of that page energy and be like, okay, I want to start something new. If I want to do that new thing and I have all this other stuff that isn't really aligned with that, what can I, put off to the side or delegate to somebody else so that I can bring that new energy into the situation?
Yeah.
What about you, Peter? What do you think?
I often think, when I see that 10 of Wands too, all the things that you said, it was funny that you had made the link between that and the Page of Wands. And I went and took a look at the Page of Wands from this particular deck. And she's still actually carrying wands in her hands. I can't really count them, but there might be close to 10 of them, but they're much smaller, and she's divided them up into two hands as well. So she's actually taken the load and she's made it more manageable, and she's given it purpose. So she's, instead of being, okay, well, I don't know what to do with these, because when you think of the traditional 10 of Wands, it's, person's heads down. They're just focused on, they're not even focused on where they're going. There's no purpose to what they're doing now, or they've lost it. What they're doing instead is, I have these tasks and I have to do them. I've actually lost the reason why I'm doing them, but I'm doing them because they're sitting here in my hands, and that's what I have to do. Whereas what she seems to have done is said, okay, well, I'm going to shrink these loads down. I'm going to make them manageable, put, one load in one hand, one load in the other, and I'm going to make a fire. So she's made the task manageable. She's given it purpose, and she's given it direction. So, I sometimes think that 10 of Wands, at first glance, it's always exactly what you said, what am I doing? What am I said yes to? How much of a load am I carrying? What do I really have to carry? And then the response to that is, in the end, you don't have to carry anything. I mean, you could essentially let the entire load go. Now, there might be consequences for that, but you could start to reflect and go, well, what things can I put down? And if I can't put them down, can I shrink the load down and make it more manageable? Are there different ways that I can go about doing that? So I think the 10 of Wands is one of those cards that at first glance, it's challenging to see, but it often, I think, more than many other cards is really a card for reflection. It's, it's really does make us ask some challenging questions about what we're carrying. So.
And it's almost like a relief, like a permission slip to be like, okay,
exactly.
We see you. We see all this stuff you're carrying. Like, now is your opportunity to be like, what can I do about it, right?
Yeah.
And sometimes, and this is why I love the tarot, and this is why I say it like acts as a mirror until you actually, like, you could just be living your life doing all of these things and then not even seeing what's in front of you until you actually get a message like that being like, you're carrying a lot of stuff right now. Do you actually need to be carrying all of that? And it gives you the space to step back and be like, okay, I'm gonna look at all this now from a different perspective and actually be intentional about what I want to do. So,
well, and it's a 10, so it's not, I think as a 10, it's probably beyond a lot of stuff. It is too much stuff, right? 10s in their capacity are an over the top card in the same way we think of, the 10 of cups as being that, or even the 10 of pentacles, they tend to be, people see them as favorable cards, but they are often over the top favorable. They're like, how much love and excitement or, wealth and resources and, and gratitude do you really need? Could you hand them off to somebody else? Could you make somebody else's life better, with the 10 of cups and with the 10 of pentacles? Well, here you have the 10 of wands. How many tasks do you really need? Like the 10 is saying, you got too much. That's just an overabundance of things. It is an invitation. I mean, the first step is an invitation to reflect on what you need to let go. But the 10 of wands really does say you got to put stuff down because there is no 11 of wands, right? There's no 11, but you can't grab more things. The 10 is at and beyond its capacity.
And if we take that one step further and look at that from a numerological perspective, the 10 is actually a 1, right? So the 9 essentially is almost like that ending card. And then the 10 is like at that point where we're almost coming full circle again and back to the beginning. So if you think about where does the 10 go when you drop the 0, it goes back to the 1. So like really, and then we go back to that Ace of Wands. It's like, okay, what do I really want in my hand? How do I want to start fresh? And how do I want to have a new opportunity by letting all of this stuff go? Because this is the end now. Like you're right. Like I can't carry anymore. So in order for me to start new, like something's got to give.
Yeah. And I have to go back to that one stick that was the most important stick I was carrying at the beginning.
And even in some other books that I've read, if you follow the sequence of the tarot, right? Like if we start at the wands and then we go now into the suit of cups, right? Like that's what comes next. It's like the 10 of wands ends and then it goes into the ace of cups. So it's almost like releasing all of those wands so you can step now into that blessing of the ace of cups. Is like, okay, now here's a cup. What are you going to fill this cup with? So yeah, interesting.
I love that because again, I almost thought of it's almost lightening your heart and preparing to then take that journey with the Ace of Cups. It's like, okay, well, I've let all these, they're not heart-based things, but I've let them all go. Now my heart is open to be able to take the journey from the Ace of Cups to the 10 of Cups. And then, I get to the 10 of Cups and then where I go from there? Well, I go to the Sword. So it's
Ace
like,
of
okay,
Swords,
well,
exactly.
My heart has been full. I've had, that whole journey. I'm feeling those connections and I can now deal with some of the challenges that are going to come from this. That's a really...
Or getting like new insights, right? When you think of that Ace of Swords, it's like an idea, like a breakthrough or something, right? So yeah, it's always continuing, right? And then it just cycles back again. So it's interesting when we look at it from that lens. And that's why I love when deck creators keep to that. I'm traditionalist in that sense.
Yeah, me too.
I love when it follows like wands, cups, swords, and pentacles in that order because I see a lot of things in that way. So that's just my opinion, but
that's the order of the 4 trees of life in their 4 capacities: fire, water, air, earth, and I'm with you. I like the pathway when decks follow that kind of esoteric pathway. It definitely makes sense. There you go. That's a whole topic for a whole other episode at some point in time.
Yes, absolutely. That was fun, Peter. I'm glad we had the opportunity to talk about Halloween and we went down all different we talked about our fears. And we would love to hear from our listeners. Like, do you love Halloween? Do you not love I mean, if you like tarot, there's probably a pretty big chance that you're like a Halloween type person. I'm just going to put that out there.
Agreed.
I could be wrong, but tarot is so much fun to do around this time. People, often talk about the veil being thinner around Halloween, right? With the seen and the unseen, right? Those sort of merging of worlds. So, if you love Halloween, let us know why you love Halloween. If you have any rituals that you do around this time of year, if you pulled a card, about like what kind of fear are you ready to let go of, or are you ready even just to be aware of? Awareness is such a strong energy, right? Like once we're aware, then we have choice. So let us know in the comments, send us an email. We'd love to hear from you.
Yeah, I agree. And the other thing too is, share, like we're 62 episode. We're 62 episodes. We're into almost a year and a half of Tarot with Bonnie and Peter. So please, by all means, share it with people that you think or will enjoy the tarot. That we love that organic growth. We'd love to get this out there. And same, if there are topics that you would love us to talk about that we haven't yet, share that in the show notes or in the comment section as well. We'd love to hear from you about that. So what do you think?
And Peter, how can people find you? What do you have? I know you have this amazing class. I wish I could come. I would totally be there to support you. Peter and I only live about 20 minutes away from each other. So I would have been there, but
you're basically booked at the exact same time, are you not?
Yeah. I do. Well, I have. Yeah.
I'm excited about the workshop. Now, in all likelihood, it will have been, because it's just a couple of days from now that we're recording it, so it will have probably gone already. Yeah. But this is a workshop that I developed and have tweaked probably, a good 15 years ago. I used to call it WTF, the tarot. And I thought, I love maybe that. Right. I thought it really, its whole focus is for people who are either very new or just beginning with the tarot. And what it really tries to do is very similar to what we try and do here, is make it accessible and approachable to all people. I talk about what some of the myths and fears are around the tarot, and then talk about, the general structure, a little bit of the history, because there's no way I'm going to teach, a 90-minute live workshop and not spend at least 5 minutes talking about, the history of the tarot. Come on now. And then, talk about the majors and really just try and let people know that none of this stuff is new, that it really is a representation of all the aspects of our lives. It's just represented in a symbolic way, and try and break down the symbols and see what that's like. The other thing is, we were talking about fears, that, the cards of Scorpio is coming up soon. So, and I just did a promo piece for it not that long ago and talked about the two cards. One is Scorpio's card, the death card, and then of course Mars, which rules, the Hellenistic ruler of Scorpio, is the Tower card. And those are two pretty challenging cards. But then I also admitted that, and I've said this before, the Tower I think is one of my favorite cards in the deck. Now, most people, if the death card or the Tower card comes up, they can often be unwelcomed, in a reading or in tarot work. And I love it when I see the tarot, or when I see the Tower. So I'm going to explain why, and all kinds of other stuff in the cards of Scorpio. That's coming up live pretty soon as well, October 18th. But, this is a webinar that I think is $23. It's 90 minutes, chock full of all kinds of information. If you take a look at some of the testimonials, people are really getting a lot out of it. Head on over to my website, because I didn't mention that, www.peterwhitetarot.com. So peterwhitetarot.com, or at, tarotwithbonnieandpeter.com. You can always access me there as well. And as the added bonus, you can get caught up on podcast episodes. So that's what I've got going on. Bonnie, what about you? What have you got in the works?
Oh, What do I have in the works? So always available are tarot consultations, mentorship with me. If you're, my tarot mentorship is discovering yourself through the tarot. So it's really about getting to know yourself through the lens of learning the tarot and the structure of the tarot. So if that's of interest to you, all that information is on my website. I do have some exciting things coming up that I'm not quite ready to share yet because they're still in the works, but I'm in the process of becoming a certified breathwork facilitator. So having a lot of fun with that. That's taking up a lot of my time, but it's been such a gift to learn how to facilitate breathwork, helping us get through fears. I've been dealing with my own fears and some of those things that hold me back, and breathwork is really helping me through that. Of course, the tarot and meditation as well. So if you'd like to find out anything that I have going on, you can find me at tarotwithbonnieandpeter.com, or you can go to my website, breathewithbonnie.com, hop on my email list, and you'll be the first to know about any events or any new things that I have coming up. So, or just come and say hi.
That's great. Yep. Yeah. Come and say hi, sign up. Your newsletters, fantastic. And I'm looking forward to experiencing some of your breath work in the very near future. Yeah. So, and speaking of coming to say hi, again, like I said, please, through the comments, come and say hi. Let us know what you appreciate about the podcast. Give us a review, give us a like, give us a share, but please, by all means, make sure that you come and join us as well next time here on Tarot with Bonnie and Peter. That's it for today. Thanks, everyone. See you again soon.